Draga had lived as a political prisoner in the capital for over a year. Barely 10 by the look of it, he wore his fawn hair in the Gothic style, scraped into a topknot, revealing green eyes that were cold and spiteful. He wore a Roman-style frayed red tunic. This exposed the skin around his shoulders, and a blue ink snake stigma that wrapped around his collarbone like a torque. Suddenly, the boy flicked his gaze up and glared at Traianus. Traianus's jaw stiffened at first at the cold stare, but behind the coldness there was something else there. Perhaps a glimmer of hope at being reunited with his father. Traianus gave the boy a tentative nod.
"Don't look at him and see a boy," Valgus whispered in his ear. "Look at him and know that his mind is filled with the same black thoughts as his father. Yes, they'll be reunited today, one way or another."
Traianus's face fell as he noticed Valgus again touch a hand to his sword hilt as he said this. He had not reckoned on drawing his own spather today, but it seemed a certainty now. "Sir, the tribunus, he briefed us only on an exchange of prisoners."
"Aye, he did."
Valgus shot a furtive glance around to see who was within earshot, then looked to Traianus with his eyes narrowed.
"But the Senate have paid for an alternative outcome."
He winked and patted a hand against his purse, which clunked with coins.
"I briefed the rest of the lads earlier. Don't worry, follow my lead, and you'll get your share, and the tribunus need never know."
Dread swelled in Traianus's gut as he glanced around him, then to the gate leading back to the city. Locked. "A vessel approaches!" one of the archers called out from the walls. All heads turned to the north. A medium-sized cog slipped from the headland and into full view. Its triangular sails were sun-bleached, and at the tip of the mast, a dark green banner embroidered with a viper writhed gently in the breeze. It was a run-down ship with only a few mercenary crewmen dotted around the rigging, and rows of crates were piled on the deck. They watched as the vessel drew into dock. All was quiet, apart from the creaking of dried-out timbers, the gentle lapping of water on the wharf side, and the screeching of the gulls and terns that followed the vessel in hope of a meal. Traianus watched the birds swooping and darting. Despite his best efforts, he could not shake the thought of the carrion birds he had become so accustomed to seeing on the battlefield. 2 tall Gothic warriors, wearing their hair scooped up into topknots and armoured in red leather cuirasses, emerged from below deck. They roped the vessel to the wharf by leaning from the side of the ship. They then laid a gangplank from the ship's edge to the dockside and walked over it to stand either side. Silently, each erected a pole bearing a smaller dark green viper banner. Then from the far side of the deck, 2 more figures emerged and walked forward. The first figure wore a dark green cloak, hood raised, face in shadows, hands clasped. Despite the heat, Traianus could not suppress a shiver at the sight as the figure drifted forward. Then, ever so slowly, the figure reached up with knotted hands to lift the hood down, revealing sharp, cold features and a thick fawn moustache that hung over taut lips. The hood rested on his shoulders, revealing the fangs and licking tongue of a snake stigma on his collarbone, just like Draga's. This was Iudex Anzo. This was the Viper. His gaze felt like ice on Traianus's skin. The hulking Goth who walked beside the Viper was draped in a fine scale vest and carried a longsword, an axe, and a dagger in his belt. His sleek dark hair was knotted back, and his face was flat and broad, with an arrowhead of a nose between dark eyes and a neatly trimmed beard, filling out an already bold jaw. From his ear dangled 3 bronze hoops. Each of his forearms bore a snake stigma, like that on the necks of Anzo and Draga. Most ominously, his hands dangled close to his weapons, as he cast a look of barely disguised contempt across the waiting legionaries.
"Evo is Anzo's sword. His trusted man," Valgus whispered. "Keep your eye on him."
Traianus shuffled to stand straight as Evo's gaze swept past him. Then 2 more Gothic warriors emerged from below deck. They bundled before them